What's up, guys? My name's Ryan,
And I'm Carlos.
and yeah, we're welcome to the SketchyCast.
SketchyCast. Got it. Nailed it. That's the name.
Yep.
Didn't even think about it. Didn't even brainstorm.
Didn't even like we this has been an idea. The name of it for at least 30 minutes now,
Gotta do some Googling after, make sure we're not stepping on any
and
toes.
definitely not recording all of our podcasts in one sitting.
I haven't eaten in days.
So we're in the middle of Robo Octopus Janitor.
Yes.
Yeah, and
of a space fleet.
do you see any? I feel like this prompt and the last three in the space quadfecta. You better not have Googled that from last time.
Is it a quartet?
Oh, I guess it could be a quartet, but yeah, it's a quartet. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
They sing also.
yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing. It's just space animal musical.
On Moonlight Bay.
I feel like these last few prompts have been very descriptive, and it makes
Right.
it. I can visualize it a lot more.
That was our goal. I remember sitting down, using the words like insecure. I think for this octopus,
It creates a nice mental image.
we sort of just put more visual components. The fact that he's a janitor and has many limbs probably helpful for his character to get things clean. We had insecure alien pilot, alien pilot. The dog is eager.
Eager dog cadet.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that helps to just kind of spark the image in your head, so that you get more excited to sit down. Like, oh, I have a direction.
Yeah, for sure.
And that usually is the toughest part. So that's character design in a nutshell. You want to try to make your characters real to you. That will guide everything. How they stand, how they smile, how they hold their weight.
In the last podcast episode, we were talking about the mindset you should have before going into a painting, and I feel like this kind of just goes to show like the way that the Sketchy Monsters prompts are laid out and like spelt out. Like the more lore and description you can give to a character before you create it, and this is just something that can happen with words. Like, and this is. And like your creative brain can just list. You can literally just write everything that comes to mind, and like look around your room and be like, oh, like it could be as dumb as like, oh, he loves eggs.
Right. Yeah.
So he always carries a frying pan with him, or something like that can. Or
it's definitely a character design exercise for, like, earlier we were talking about what do you do before you sit down and draw something, but specifically for design, writing out adjectives for what you want to draw, like fox-like, crafty, tall, something.
you have something against foxes?
Anything.
Your chicken just trying to
Down with foxes.
go down with foxes. They killed the. I was trying to think of what's the name of Sasuke's tribe?
The Uchiha clan. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Uchiha Cluck.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No. But see, like,
they killed my entire clan, my entire cluck.
we just created like a lore for like a fox versus chicken war, and
I mean, that has to be
that's already like a children's story somewhere. But
that's gonna be a
prompt.
a new series of prompts.
yeah. But like, see, within that you can build just anything to get the ball rolling, really.
Oh yeah, that's like such a good like brainstorm. Like,
Yeah,
just
that's
cool.
That's usually people's favorite aspect of the design phase, like they call it blue sky phase, and like the pipeline of it. Like, you're not bound by what the reality of maybe the movie is or something like that. You're like, just give me a bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
And we'll choose one, take a direction, build off that, keep going.
My favorite way to brainstorm ideas is to when I did game development like 3 years ago, I was working with some people, and they would just want to make small games, and like they would just be like, okay, let's start with a new game, and I'd be like, okay. And one thing that I came up with to start doing was, so I came up with something called the 1 minute brainstorm, which is so like you and I mean, we could do it right now, but that'd be weird because we'd be quiet for like a minute. But everybody has a piece of paper and a pen, and somebody sets the timer for 1 minute, and you write down everything that comes to your brain, like
no filter.
No filter.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Literally no filter at all. And I'll do something like what we did is we did it on a whiteboard, and we were all like three of us were right next to each other, and like somebody would write like kangaroo, pizza, and some people would write like whole sentences, or like they would. It's interesting because, and it's interesting to see how people react to it, because when you say, "Oh, we're making a game," at 1 minute brainstorm, everyone's like, "A game where you do this," and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Just write down. Like, you can look around the room and just call stuff out. Sticky notes, t-shirt, guitar, fan, another guitar.
Stream of consciousness, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, letting... Sort of just throwing the jacks out onto the ground. Or seeing where they land.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's sort of... just letting your mind be... It's almost like adjacent to what meditation can do for you. And, like, it just kind of raises the limits. Because you're going to have them on later. So just kind of...
Oh, yeah, for
just
sure.
kind of shake it off, stretch a little bit, and then you can go in.
Yeah, and I think that one way that I really like to look at... I don't know what to call this, like... I guess, like, creative metagame. I don't know what to call it. Like, okay, like the Segway. Do you know about the guy who made the Segway and how he thought it was going to change the world?
Yeah.
So, like... Let's say that in 200 years, there are no more roads and segways are used widely.
Yeah.
Like, he's like way too ahead of his time, let's say.
Right.
Let's just as an example. There's a current box right now that everybody is working inside of. And he was thinking way too far outside the box. That's why I say metagame, because it has to be like...
Sure, like it implies that there's already structure. Like
right,
there's a localized area of, like, you know, where thoughts are headed.
Yeah, and like the newest ideas are either on the border of that box when you're
right in order to try to push it.
Yeah. So you're pushing it, or you're going just a little bit outside of it.
Right.
But if you go too far outside of it, then it's like that's not relevant. We can't use that. And there was an example of this actually. There's a somebody made a 360-degree microphone that recorded in all 360 degrees, and this was in 1994, and they just like didn't have a reason for it.
Sure.
They're just like, this is really cool, but like we can't use it. All you could do is like record something, and then like listen.
Right.
But then VR came around, and it suddenly became useful 20 years later.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like. Some ideas are just, you don't know what they could be used for or what they'll lead you to. So it's always good to just at least try to put them out there. Yeah.
Do you think, I guess, is it better to be inside the box or outside the box?
I think like most questions like that, it's
depends.
in the middle. Yeah, and context is very important for, you know, it comes down to what your need is.
Yeah.
What the need of you personally and what the need for those around you is, and you know, if you're a team.
That's true.
I think being able to do both is important, like that versatility.
Yeah.
And I'm always interested in like just the stream of consciousness sort of mindset, like especially like rappers that can freestyle or something, you know, like being able to pop off an idea or a theme, construct it, jump off of it, move through it. I don't know. That's always been very interesting to me in terms of how like a person's mind works.
Yeah, and I think that not even like, because even with rapping, you have a performance aspect which puts a lot of limitations on you.
Right.
Like for myself, when I'm in I thrive in like a sit down and figure it out creative space.
With like a time pressure or
without time pressure.
Okay.
So like there are sometimes it depends. Because like with performance, it's like right now time pressure.
Sure.
But like if I have an hour, then like I can do a lot better. But if I have like if I have to write lyrics for a song or something like that kind of unfiltered. The clamps can be and the limitations can be
helpful.
Yeah. You start with something unfiltered and with something without that's not inside the box.
Yeah.
But then you push it down and
You have guides.
you have guides eventually that
Yeah.
push you along the way, or maybe you cut some stuff and
I think a lot
make it
of
work.
the elements of, because like most art and not art is like, you know, anyone in like a like a, what am I trying to say? There are a lot of other jobs that aren't artistic but are still very creative, because ultimately I think creativity is just problem solving.
agreed.
So like in order to
Well,
improve on your problem solving,
a goal driven.
right, you need
Yeah,
you need a goal,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to that helps guide you. Like, what is the problem I'm trying to solve, and how do I want to get there? Having a goal lends itself to that, and
It puts you in a direction.
yeah, and I think that kind of can segue into like what style is.
Segue? Callback.
Dang it, he's good.
That's right, guys. It's me, the guy who invented segways. He just comes into every room.
Kicks
that
open
says-
the door.
and we're just like, no!
He's on a Segway.
How'd you get that up the stairs?
Just zooms in on his face. He hasn't spoken a word since he invented them.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
been living on another dimension.
You're gonna say segue into?
Yeah, that kind of can segue into style. That's, I think, a whole nother topic that I want to dog ear for now. But a lot of style, a lot of shaping your own style, other than, you know, observing and refining your taste, is like, what's your goal? What's the sort of, what do you want to give people the impression of and the feeling of
Yeah.
when they look at it? You know, something as simple as like, oh, I like round shapes because they feel nice. I like pointy shapes because they're interesting.
Did you? Oh man, I don't even know if it's online or not. But Mark Barrett, he did a talk on character design and like how shapes and color all like work together to like convey different emotions.
Right. They synergize.
Oh, it's so good. It makes you feel like an artist,
Sure.
like when you're not.
Yeah, honestly, listening to like that sort of stuff is always a good way to get re-inspired if you're in a block too.
Yeah.
Listening to people who are like masters at their craft just go over their own philosophies for it, and it's a good reinvigoration technique if you're ever in a spot. If you ever burn out creatively.
Yeah, creative burnout is like, this is something I've been trying to, I want to try anyways. I think there's like, I guess some energy burnout,
Right.
if you want to call it that.
It's almost like the exact opposite of like a brainstorm phase where you're just like, ideas, boom, feels good, you're going.
Yeah.
And then you can be on the other side of just like, what are words?
Yeah, because this is what I want to try. When I'm relaxing, I spend a lot of time playing video games. Doing things that aren't creative, I think is what well, I should clarify. Video games are like playing video games is a creative endeavor too.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes the limitations are tighter on some games, sometimes they're not.
It's less of like a product, like end product based.
It-
You do it
it's-
for the experience. When you do
Yeah.
play video games instead
Yeah.
of trying to make.
Yeah, so I think that what was I gonna say? I spend a lot of my time doing blip sounds, which is mostly creative all of the time, and it forces me to like come up with solutions to things and like just take action and such. And I spend 30-40 hours a week on blip sounds, doing creative things for the business and not for myself. So I'm wondering, can I want to try
To
refuel in my downtime away from blip sounds on being self-creative,
Right.
and see how that affects me.
So like up till now, you were being creative for blip sounds, and if that burned you out, you would just try to not be creative
Yes.
as a form of refueling. So now you're wondering if there's
I wonder if I
another
can
way to refuel,
Yes.
and it might mean being creative just in a different way, which I think
Maybe
yes
would work.
I think it could definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of my best creative moments tend to be definitely affected by mood. I'm not sure of like the science of the brain or anything that goes into that, but like my my pathways for ideas just feel so much more open when I'm in a good mood.
Yeah. And I think
simple
that
as that
good
is.
mood is kind of,
It has a lot of factors itself.
yeah, like, I mean, yesterday I just was in a really bad mood after like 5, 6 p.m. and I just like,
Yeah.
I played some video games, but really, and that helped a lot actually. Like that in that moment, I really just needed to sit down and play video games.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what it really was is I was exhausted because I wasn't getting enough sleep.
Sure. Yeah, it's a physical thing. It's a mental thing. You know, diet, exercise, work, what your human relationships are. Maybe you got in a fight with somebody. I don't know. You know, mood is fickle that way.
Yeah.
And that does make it hard when your job or like what you do for fun. It's all very tied together. You know, nothing really feels like an escape. I guess if it's being affected by
Yeah.
these other things.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if. So I guess. I feel like this is just like such a. I don't know why this is such a prevalent topic in the pod in like the first 2 episodes, but just like creating for yourself.
Yeah. Excuse me.
I kind of feel like creating for yourself is very. I mean, it's very healthy to do. Yeah, I guess it's just something I got to experiment with. Like, I wish I could give more. I want to talk more about creative burnout and like. Because I think it's definitely a thing. But I think it's different when there. I feel like the pressure of it, of like, I think the pressure of what I experienced with blip sounds and then other things like that. It's a lot more. It's a lot worse. Because there is a pressure on it. But if I'm just drawing because I want to draw something cool and I like have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm fine. I would be fine.
So yeah, but like it's tricky too because it can also drawing is inherently it can be a very frustrating endeavor. Like I mean, most artistic things, you know, you want to do something, you can't do it. Maybe it didn't come out how it came out in your head, and that can do the opposite effect. You can get stressed out by that and annoyed. And like what happens with a lot of people too is they feel like they have to draw every single day if they want to improve, because ideally they want a job in that realm, and that is another pressure to add on yourself. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm drawing and I need to get this many hours in a day.
That's true.
Otherwise, I'm falling behind. There's this mental treadmill that you feel like you're trying to keep up with.
Okay, so this actually ties into it then a little bit, what I've been experimenting with lately. So I will fall into YouTube in a second. If I like, even when I'm not thinking about anything, I will just type in YouTube into my address bar.
That's like a
Google
default,
Chrome.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that's just like my default thing to do. So I started setting up a website blocker 5 days a week, but I'm thinking about I kind of want to just try cutting out YouTube altogether. Because I wonder if I can just be creative all the time. Because I feel YouTube is great and I enjoy it and I can share that with other people and such, but it really is a time sink.
It's I think too a lot of with like just internet app electronic culture is like you can pick something up, check out an app for 2-3 minutes, but you do that a lot and it builds up. And not only is it like
there's no shortage of distractions either with the internet.
It's punctuating, it's interrupting your flow of doing something else. Like the flow state is that psychological place where you're just in it, in your activity. You and that activity and time kind of behaves differently, and it's like a link. And just punctuating, just tearing yourself out of that constantly, or not even letting yourself get into it, I think also is a cause of like frustration, stress, burnout.
Right. So, and I was going to go into that where, what if you cut out the things? Maybe it's a matter of not setting a limitation on yourself. I don't even know how to describe this, but like if you want to be more creative all the time, and you just want to do it for yourself, and saying that, okay, I need to do this many hours a day of creating for myself. Are you really creating for yourself at that point? Right. Because you're putting that limitation on. And then also, and that's how I think that's a big way that creative burnout would happen. But then also, what do you define as YouTube? A distraction that just happens, and like is almost like a just like a pimple in your brain, I guess, that
Sure.
like, or in your mindset flow that just interrupts things. What do you call that?
No, it's definitely tough. It's not even something that like it's easy to shrug off like, it's really not making that big difference. And I wonder all the time, like, what if I like grew up in the 1700s? I didn't have these distractions, but I was
Yeah.
still on an art path. Like, how would I be progressing?
You probably just draw all the time.
Exactly. I didn't really have an option, and it's probably why you had the like Michelangelos, and they had different day-to-day
Yeah.
processes, and I wonder how they would fare, nowadays. And
Yeah.
it's just the blessing and the curse of internet.
Yeah.
And
So with that being said, though, I wonder if like, okay, so if you, so maybe, okay, this is what the relationship is, I think, that I was looking for. Instead of saying I'm going to do an hour of this every day, instead of like forcing yourself to do something, I think if you were to cut out the distractions, you would just automatically default
Right.
to doing that creative thing because
Right,
you have
'cause-
nothing else to do. YouTube is too accessible and easy to get to.
because I'll sit down at my computer and just like YouTube.
Yeah.
Click YouTube, click a song, whatever. Ooh, what's new today?
Yeah.
Reddit. Ooh, what's new today? And
Oh, what are my favorite
and
YouTubers
I'm not even
posting?
thinking most
Yeah.
of the time. I'm just like, it's because it can be done so autopilot. It's a reflex. It's a habit, and I'm sure most of us have it. But yeah, that's the sort of, it takes willpower to notice it. I'd be real with yourself about it. Like, okay, maybe this is
Yeah.
becoming too much of an issue.
Yeah, and I think that like if maybe if you're getting to that point where you say you have to do an hour of it every day, maybe that's just the wrong. Maybe that's the point where you're like, okay, maybe I should take a look at. Maybe I should take a look at like cutting things out rather than like forcing things in.
Yeah,
Because when
I
you say
think
an hour every day, that means that when you say I have to do an hour of this every day, at that point
you're making
it feels
homework for yourself.
and it feels like shoehorned almost
Yeah.
into your schedule at that point when you say it like
And
that.
and it's like, if you miss that hour, do you beat yourself up like a lot about it?
Probably,
and
or you
that's
could.
not very healthy.
And if you're gonna have that creative burnout probably,
Yeah.
and maybe you're not giving yourself enough time to have downtime.
Yeah.
Like regardless of the fact that of the distractions that you have, they probably do give you nice downtime.
Sure.
And that does have a place in like the sort of being able to relax and all
Yeah.
that.
Like I see a lot from older artists like, hey, it's okay not to draw every day. Go out and live life. That's how you sort of replenish that bar also. And then, the luxury of like, oh, I'll draw when I feel like it again only exists for so many people, because most people have jobs and stuff. You need to be able to call upon, that skill set. But, you're human, treat yourself.
Yeah.
But it's a tough balance because reality isn't as, things are going to hurt to do sometimes. And, I don't think you can avoid burnout, but I think you can be healthier about it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess. Yeah. No, that's something I'm trying to figure out lately. Because I burn out too much and I want to stop that.
Sure. I mean, like, it's, on a personal level, I can say something like, you don't have to draw every day to succeed, and I think that's very true. But then at the same time, I have these like mini competitions, and like, I'm like, oh, but if I take one day off, random stranger over here is going ham. He's a day ahead of me.
Yeah, and
it's
yeah, right, and that's the crappy dichotomy of it is like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to keep up with these people,
right.
or that's the spectrum, I guess, is like there's people that are you have to try to keep up with, but then there's also fueling that energy for it, and you need that downtime for it too.
And it's like a marathon. Are you sprinting and then having to stop to catch your breath, or are you keeping a steady pace?
Yeah,
And that's so abstract and subjective, and like that like really
Yeah, what are you running? Are you running uphill? Are you running downhill?
Yeah.
How long have you been running? Because I mean, if you're just,
I think the key is like pay attention to yourself.
yeah,
Know yourself. What are you, ask yourself, why do I feel this way?
it's such like I remember hearing that advice like that like when I was younger, and like it's just frustrating to hear that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I have to experience stuff. I have to like learn about myself.
Right.
Like, what are you? And it's like not like just tell me all the answers now.
Sure.
But that's not how it works. It's,
If you're
you literally
told,
just have to do it.
yeah. If you're told the what but not the how, you only know like how to recreate the outside.
But if you're, like we said in the last episode, if you're making the mistakes,
Yep.
you're knowing the ins and outs a bit more.
And it's tough because I sometimes get very pessimistic about hearing that sort of thing, like failure's good. It's like, oh, what a nice way to make yourself feel good about failing. But I do think that it has merit. Like, I'm terrified of failure in a lot of aspects, and I'm trying to be okay with like, okay, I'll fall, trip, get up, do it, learn from it. And I think you do.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is to give yourself the time for these things to play out. Being impatient is only going to make things so much worse.
I was talking with a mutual friend of ours, who wanted to break up with his girlfriend, and he was really worried about it and nervous because like, and I think that's like a similar feeling to like the failure thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, because he was really scared to do it, like he was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, and he knew it needed to happen. And I said, do you have a gun to your head? No, then you're not going to die.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
What if you're going to keep living after this and you're not going to die from it?
Right.
Then like the worst, there's nothing that bad that's going to happen in the grand scheme of things.
A lot of my anxieties come from like the simulations I run in my head of like, maybe let's say I'm breaking up with somebody, like the worry is like the worst. I worry about the worst possible options of how this person's going to react. If they'll bring up like things that would destroy me to hear, but things only I would know to say because I know my own fears and stuff like that. And reality is hardly ever as harsh as what a lot of people's brains can come up with.
Yeah, that's true. I guess. On that end of things, I feel like if you have those fears, then that's like maybe you're not coming to terms with yourself. Is it kind of like that, or?
I don't know. I chalk it up to like anxiety.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anxiety brain. It's
Yeah.
worse for some people than others. But it's not uncommon, for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So coupling that with like being a creative person, there can be some high highs and low lows for sure. That don't even deal with really burnout, but just like, I don't know, being able to keep yourself out of your head day to day. Finding ways to do that, I think, will help with burnout and just anxious thoughts.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think the yeah, I guess I'm just personally not really too afraid to do most things. Mm-hmm. You know what stops me? Things that I literally don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I know if there's somebody that I don't want to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
like if there's somebody that I don't like, I'll just put it off.
Yeah.
Like I put things off so much because for that reason alone. Like
Sure.
I know like the direction that something's headed, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Sure.
That's the thing that gets me the most, actually.
Yeah, I mean that's almost tougher because like that is reality.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my fears are usually dealing with the what ifs that never come to pass. It's definitely tougher if it's like, this is going to pass. I have to deal with it eventually. It's real.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like, rent's coming.
Right. You can't run from your fate.
Your apartment complex.
It's
is
your
just-
manager. Yeah. Mental health and modern day creativity are there will be some interesting papers written about it.
Do you think so? Do you think that you have? So what are your like, I guess, like your thoughts on what is like? Do you have like a conclusive thought on like creative burnout?
I would say listen to your body a
Yeah.
lot, and notice patterns. Like
That's yeah, and if you can like create a game plan around it.
yeah, it
Yeah.
goes back to like, oh, you have a headache. Oh, I'm not in the mood. What did you do the last 2 days that you might have done the last time you felt like this?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot you do in your day to day, but I think that's helped me a lot. It's why I've gone into better habits. I think because I prefer the time I spend going the extra mile to do something, knowing it'll make me feel better than feeling like crap.
Yeah, I think it's important to go off of other people and say like, oh, these people work 40 hours a week in their field and they're able to thrive in it, but they also might be 10 years younger than you and have a lot more
Right.
energy. They might have so much money that they don't have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to deal with a lot of other stuff in your life. Like the things in your life are specific to you.
Right. Small day-to-day stresses that like you have might be super unique to you, and how they all come together and all that stuff.
Right, right.
That's life.
Yeah. So I feel like for me, when I was building blip sounds out, or even just in blip sounds now today, day to day, I did something called Pomodoro where I would time myself for 25 minutes at a time to do nothing but work, and I tried to work 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I don't work 40 hours a week anymore just because of how difficult that is.
Yeah.
And I had that initial expectation, but over time I realized I just had to pay. I just realized like I would just get these crazy burnout streaks of like, oh, I won't work a whole week or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I need to change something, and I just had to work less hours basically. And
Right.
Cut time out of my work day and then put it towards other things that would benefit and refuel me. And that's what I'm still trying to figure out too. It's a process.
Yeah. So how do you quantify a burnout? Like, what would you call a burnout?
It's an emotional thing. You have to feel it out.
And it usually affects you like 1 to 2 weeks.
It can. It depends. It happened. So when I got back from my trip, I got back and I had to catch up on work. I worked for a week, and then the very next week I barely worked.
Sure.
I worked probably 2 days out of a 5-day work week when I should have worked way more.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely like I'll have 3 or 4 days of like just not drawing. But then like it used to stress me out, and now I'm like, okay, I know that when I sit back down, I'll be like excited.
Do you think that?
Do it.
Yeah, right. And that's why I always take weekends off, no matter what.
Right.
I always say 2 days off right now.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a full reset, then that's fine, but it'll reset me enough to keep me productive for the next 5 days to some degree.
Right.
Do you think that you're we talked about this earlier, or maybe in the last episode, but you just mentioned that you'll feel your creative burnout when drawing. Do you think that your creative burnout when drawing would still be there if it was for yourself all of the time?
Yeah, I think
Because you're trying to improve yourself too as well.
Right. Because
Okay.
so I think a lot of what has made me okay with my taking days off is that I use that time to work on other things that will still help me with drawing that isn't drawing. So like visualizing ideas, observing the world, looking at other people's art. There are other ways to kind of refuel yourself that don't involve that task that can still help you work towards that. So realizing that I could still take time off and improve was a good, it lifted a lot of weight.
Okay.
That being said, that level of thoughtfulness has kind of made my personal bar a little bit higher. So I tend to try to think about things more before I draw them. But I also critique myself harder because of it.
Do the things in your off time relate to your art specifically? Or is it kind of like I'm gonna work out and I'm gonna get my sleep?
I think it's a little bit of both. Sometimes it relates to the art. Sometimes it's just pure mental.
Do you think
make
it's
myself
like,
feel good?
Do you think it's like research, or would you quantify it as research, or like brainstorming, or
It's pretty passive. It's less passive than those things. I think it's
Okay.
more like
maybe it's a reset kind of?
yeah. It's like an idle mode, sort of like. It's like I'm digesting.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's like I'm loading up stuff so the next time I go to work, I have
Yeah.
preset things that I've loaded.
Would you say maybe? Sorry, I'm just trying to come up with an analogy so I can understand it better. It's not for any other reason.
Sure.
Maybe like do you feel you're too close to the puzzle sometimes to solve it, or like, or do you feel like you're tunnel vision and it's hard for you to like kind of improve as a result? Okay.
I can lose the forest for the trees, and taking a step back to reevaluate and kind of shake things up.
Yeah,
Like,
and
okay,
then the
go back
little
to
bit of time
basics
away from
sometimes.
it gives you that perspective.
Lets you refocus, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. No, I agree with that for sure.
So it's a little bit of that, a little bit of like chewing on thoughts and ideas that once I give them time to actually settle, I can better approach, my next work. And like you were saying, if I was just doing art for me all the time, I think I would still get that burnout because I still have personal goals.
Yeah.
And, not reaching them can be frustrating and lead to burnout. And there's always something that I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess it depends on that pressure and how you treat yourself with that pressure too.
Right.
Because if I want to start doing game development, and like, what is the pressure there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't feel like there's a lot of pressure. I know I have a vision of what I want it to be specifically, but I don't think that's necessarily bad. Like, I don't feel like that's too bad of a pressure. But I guess I'll have to see.
I think it's necessary. I mean,
there's always going to be, you can't go totally unscathed.
yeah, because like that's not
realistic.
You have to be conscious of doing something that implies some goal.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to create something with some sort of if you want to like your work, you have to put some effort into it.
Right. I used to rely too long on like putting thoughtless lines down or whatever. Like, ooh, let me draw.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on that. You just gotta try.
Yeah, for sure.
A little bit.
For sure.
Even if it's just for yourself.
Definitely. So, anyways, I think that's all the time that we have for today.
I'm waiting for the audience to cheer.
Actually, hold on. Thank you, please. Thank you. Thank you.
That's not a crowd. It's an angry mob.
We gotta go. Catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. I'm Ryan.
Thanks for listening. I'm Carlos.
Thanks for listening, and I'm Brian. I'm Blumbo. That's my name. Thanks for watching.
Like masters at their craft, just go over their own philosophies for it, and it's a good reinvigoration technique if you're ever in a spot. If you ever burn out creatively.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't ready. I was like, oh, that's my cue.
You're still putting on like your shoes and shit. You gotta run onto the stage.
Oh my god.
I just like remembered it. I was like, da, 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 da.